Okay.
Tom? All right. Well, welcome, OHIMA members. I have a special treat for you. Our membership engagement committee has come up with a couple ideas for videos. And today you are going to meet Lauree Handlon, who is the member with the most volunteer experience in OHIMA. And we want to learn from her. So I've had her come on video and we are going to chat with you guys today. So Lauree, I know you're like, oh, I've got to do this video. Well, we want to learn all about you. So first of all, how long have you been in the HIM profession?
Well, so I graduated from the OSU HIMSS program in 2000. So it's been about 21 years now.
Wow. 21 long years. Now, what about your credentials? What kind of credentials do you have?
So I did go through the OSU program and was able to sit for the RHIA. So I have the RHIA under my belt. I also have the CCS from AHIMA, I should say. And then I have been given the designation of a fellow of AHIMA.
Yeah, the fellow is you like fill out a bunch of documentation about your history. Is that right? And then you have to. So
yeah.
Tell us about the fellow.
Sure. So actually, it's very similar in a lot of different professional organizations. To be a fellow, it has to be where you meet certain criteria, as you mentioned. But primarily, I think they're looking for that volunteer experience as well as education, continuing education. And yeah, so if you've got certain elements that you've been able to meet and continue to want to meet, then you'll be considered to become a fellow.
Yeah, that's great. And then as an OHIMA member with the longest standing volunteer record of 12 years, let's go back to the very first time you volunteered. Were you scared? Were you like, what am I doing? Take us back.
Oh my gosh, yes. So I actually submitted my own name on the ballot because I told myself, Lauree, you've got to start being out of your shell. You've got to get out. You've got to start making networks because I am a huge 100% introvert.
Yes.
So that was very scary for me to even submit my name. Well, it turned out that I wasn't elected. And you know what? You probably would think that like most people would be kind of like, oh, good, I wasn't elected. I don't have to do it now. I tried. I'm done. I was actually kind of bummed. I was just like, oh, I finally got up enough courage to do this.
Yes.
And they didn't want me.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think they've wanted you ever since.
Well, so what happened is that at the time, those that were elected, I don't know, maybe a month or two into the association year, there was somebody that was elected that just couldn't fulfill their role, had decided that they needed to step down, and my name came up. And so I was reached out to, and of course, like the whole time I'm sweating and I'm like, no, say no. But then of course the word yes came out. And so I've been with them ever since, just doing different things. Of course, you know, I started off in a director role, which was pretty scary because I didn't know what to expect.
Right.
But everybody on the board was so encouraging and welcoming. So it was a definite learning experience, but you have so many people around you that support you. It was completely fine.
Right. It's like we've got a whole group of wingmen, you know, the wingmen that like protect us and hold us up. So what's your role today?
So today I am actually on the nominating committee. I was the nominating committee chair last year, and then I was asked to join the actual committee this year, which has been very lovely to be able to continue working on that.
Very good. So Someone may say, well, what do you get out of being a volunteer? You know, what are the benefits? Why would I want to do this? What would you tell them?
Well, the first thing I would probably say is you're going to get out of it what you want to put into it, right?
Amen.
So if you're really enthusiastic and you want to be part of something bigger, then and you give it your all, you're going to get a ton out. And that ton that I'm talking about is primarily going to be learning opportunities, meeting new people that you never thought that you'd ever talk to.
Yes.
Learning about positions that are out there that you never even knew HIMSS professionals were in.
Yes.
But, you know, in addition to that, just leadership type skills. You know, we all have a lot of different skills that we bring to the table at our own jobs and stuff. But when you're on an executive board or even part of the full board or on maybe a committee, running a committee, there's definitely an opportunity to advance and enhance kind of your leadership skills.
Yeah, and then I think, like you said, the connections and the networking. I mean, there's no question there are so many benefits from that. You know,
Absolutely.
knowing people from all corners of the state, or, you know, like think of how we network at AHIMA, you know, the national, like, or you make friends and they're lifelong friends.
Absolutely.
So how about over the years, as you think back in other volunteer roles? I'm sure you've done other volunteer type things. Tell us about some of those.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, in terms of more along the lines of professional volunteering, I guess, I am part of the Healthcare Financial Management Association Central Ohio Executive Board. I'm in the leadership track right now, so I'm the secretary this year, and next year I'll be president-elect and then president.
Yeah.
So that's one of the organizations I've been mostly involved in the last couple of years, probably 6-ish years now. I've also been involved in 2 different alumni organizations. The Ohio State Alumni Organization. I actually just retired
You
last
retired.
year after 15 years. So they're in a great place right now. So I'm super excited for the HRS, the School of Health and Rehabilitation Sciences at OSU. And then I'm also in the Alumni Association, and I'm actually the current president right now for the University of Cincinnati, the Masters of Health Administration program. So a couple of different, you know, professional organizations. And of course, I've done some things with AHIMA, you know, over the years, just, you know, various things, you know, from founders and the Merit Scholarship Committee to, gosh, perspectives and reviewing articles and stuff like that. So it's, again, it's you get something different out of each one of those experiences.
Yeah, our folks watching the video can't see, but I'm scrolling my mouse quite a long way. There is so much on this list. You've just scratched the surface, but you've done like all kinds of different committees with OHIMA over the years: membership engagement, innovation, advocacy, and then just AHIMA. Just, it's a very long list. Treasurer, secretary, board member, preceptor. Phew. So let's think back over all of it. What do you think was your most memorable volunteer experience with OHIMA?
So I think a lot of people get very nervous and shy about wanting to become an executive board member because, you know, of the responsibility and just, you know, do I have enough time for it or whatnot? So when I was in the role of I think it was either, you know, the president-elect or current president or past president, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I had been involved in the executive board. And my most memorable moment was probably when I got to go to one of the AHIMA conferences with Lauren Manson.
Our girl Lauren.
I just had the best time, and we got to go, a couple years together. And I want to say it was San Diego because those memories, actually, funny enough, have just been popping up on my phone the last couple of days. And so there was just so many different things that we got to do to kind of unwind, the member celebration or appreciation or whatever it's called. So having known that, I was in a position and I volunteered for, and I had a lot on my shoulders, but that same position gave me this opportunity to kind of let my hair down and have fun. And I just had so much fun that I also can just distinctly remember at those different conferences walking around with Lauren when she was talking to the vendors, because she was trying to promote OHIMA and let them know, hey, our state association, our CSA is one of the largest in the nation. You should come to our annual meeting, right?
Come exhibit here with us.
Yeah, and to watch her talk to these people, like I so tried to, and I'm like, oh, I'm not nearly as good as what she is. So I'm just kept watching and just observing, and it was amazing to kind of watch that. But it was also neat because, when we would walk together, she would introduce herself as the executive director, and then, at the time, whatever I was, maybe the president, I'm not sure. And it just, it was a neat feeling that we're making a difference.
Yes. And I know it makes you feel really proud to think how big our association is, how well known it is, around the country. Okay, now let's flip it. What do you think was your most challenging volunteer opportunity, experience? Oh, well, she's laughing. She's got one.
I do. I actually, like, two big ones come to my mind. One more general type of situation, right? The biggest challenge always is getting people involved and engaged. They might sign up, but are they really fulfilling kind of that role that you were hoping that they could fulfill? So that's always a challenge. But I will say that another major challenge is when, OHIMA was in a new executive director. So before Lauren. And I learned.
I can't even remember who was before Lauren.
It was just. Yeah, it was just an extremely enlightening experience, very challenging and emotional roller coaster at some times, just trying to figure out what's going to be the best. Like, this is kind of on, my shoulders as well as some of the other executive board shoulders to appoint somebody that is going to run our organization. I mean, it was a lot of stress. But honestly,
oh yeah,
we couldn't be luckier to have what we have now, and has continued to be in that position for our state of Ohio organization.
I can only imagine, that's now that you can look back, you're like, good job. Okay, how about the question of what makes a good volunteer?
Yeah. So I think that, I may have touched on this already a little bit, but I think what makes a good volunteer is that piece of engagement, really putting yourself in the position that you have volunteered for. So if, like I said before, I think, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. And what a good volunteer will essentially do is be there, be mind, body, just be there for the organization. And you can't do everything, but you can do what, others are asking you to do, or even coming up with your own ideas and trying to push something through. I mean, but you will get so much out of it, if you can get to that place. So yeah, I think that, whatever volunteer position you go for, be there. Like, does that make sense?
There's an old Sen Delaney, the Sen Delaney training, and I actually have it on my desk. It says, be here now. And it's all about, and it is a reminder, a visual reminder to be present and I think that's exactly what you're saying. Yeah, you have your regular job, but when you come to do your volunteer work, be there.
Yeah.
Be there in mind, body, and spirit, and throw yourself into it. So some people will say, I have too much going on. You know, I've got kids in the ball games and I have a busy family life. You know, there are barriers to people wanting to volunteer. It sounds like you had a lot of barriers, but you were still able to do it. What would you tell people, advice to overcome barriers to volunteering?
So my approach to everything these days to get things done are to-do lists. So if I have committed to do something, it goes on my to-do list. And, you know, I even have color coding and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, some people are like, why do you even spend the time doing that? Well, it does give me satisfaction when I get to cross stuff off. So that's my goal, is to cross stuff off. But I really think that if you feel that something's important to you and you say, I want to do this, I want to volunteer, or you've accepted somebody else's recommendation to, you know, go on the ballot or whatnot to be a volunteer, then you know what, you have an obligation to make it work, to make it happen. And certainly there are so many people, especially at OHIMA, that you can lean on for support. So if there is a time in your life, you know, maybe a month that's just way too busy for you, then you might be able to do small things and not have to do this big project or have somebody else help you with the big project. But as long as you're willing and it's important to you again, you'll find the time, you know. And I'll be honest with everybody, I sleep 8 hours a night. I do. People find that crazy that I actually just sleep, but I do. I make a point and I have to sleep. And that's, you know, I might go to bed at 9 o'clock but you know what? I have to. I found that that's how I get my energy, is to make sure that I have enough sleep. It's not for everybody, you know, but it's a big piece of it, that if you got a lot going on, you kind of make your to-do lists. And here's my other favorite, Tetris. I didn't really play it, but I always think of it, right? When you've got things that you have to do. So you find these things falling and you don't want them to touch the bottom. So you figure out, you know, or not touch the bottom, I guess, but try to figure out in those shapes. Right?
Yes.
And that's what that's how my brain works. I'm like, okay, this is these things I have to get done, and I want to get them done because I've volunteered to do it, or I'm obligated to do it. I set priorities, and I play Tetris in my brain.
Right. I love that visual. And you know what? People don't have to volunteer to be the president of an association. So, you know, what are some little ways that people can give back to the organization without, you know, taking the huge or the roles that they think are, oh, they're so ominous? What could they do?
Well, in our profession, there's so many opportunities. I mean, as small as you know, being there for a student to kind of reach out to find out what do you do, I think is a good one. But in terms of like specifically with OHIMA, I mean, you can start off as small as being on a committee and be there to support whatever effort the committee chair or the director has put forward, right? Like if it could even be just one event. Maybe you're helping with registration at one event. Maybe you're donating an item that can be in a silent auction to raise funds for something. I mean, there's so many different ways, that in small ways, that you can help move an organization forward if you don't feel like you have the time that, you know, one of those bigger positions might require. And to be honest with you, even some of those bigger positions, we're not talking like 40 hours a week or even 10 hours a week. It might be 1 or 2 hours a week to do one of those bigger positions. Maybe sometimes there's more necessary at a certain time of the year, like at the annual meeting or something along those lines. But it's definitely doable if you want really to do it.
And I also think that when you volunteer, it's like you're really enmeshing yourself into, or immersing yourself into your association. So it's like, sometimes people will be on the outside looking in and saying, what's our profession doing? Or, get involved, right? Get involved. I mean, there's no better way to validate your profession and support your profession
and make your voice heard, right? And make your voice heard. If you don't like something about the profession, or you don't like the path it's going down, or this one little piece, you're like, I don't really agree with that. Well, do something about it, right? You have an opportunity, do something about it.
Now, you work full-time at Cleverley. So tell us about Cleverley and Associates, and then how you fit your volunteer work in when you have a full-time job.
Yes, so Cleverley and Associates is a fairly local to Central Ohio. We're just north of Columbus and Worthington, Ohio. It's a healthcare finance consulting firm. I've been here actually just a little over 19 years now. And what's really cool about our organization is that we are a consulting firm, but even before the craziness of the last 2 years, we don't travel. So I think that that's a big piece to allowing me to do some other things, because while I do have, what people consider overtime and extra projects that have to go on, my leadership here at Cleverley and Associates is very supportive of us growing as individuals. So if at any time in the last 19 years that I've come to them and I'd said, hey, I want to do this, I want to go back to school, I want to volunteer here, I want to do this, they're like, yeah, as long as we can get this stuff done, go ahead, do it.
Great.
Yeah,
that is so great.
So
having a supportive company to back you up.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm very fortunate in that aspect, that I've been able to, over the last 19 years, kind of make my position one that I can grow with and grows with me, I guess, in a way. So it's definitely something that, not everybody necessarily has, the luxury of, but at the same time, don't feel like there's not one of those out there.
Yeah, and I would just challenge anyone watching this video. Go ask your boss.
Ask, yes.
I would be really impressed if someone came to me and said, Jill, I really want to be on this committee this year for OHIMA. I absolutely would support that. So maybe there might be a fear that, I won't be able to fit it in. I may even say, well, leave early and go do that meeting, or be flexible with the person who wants to volunteer. Yeah, I think there are bosses out there that would do that, probably more than we think.
Well, and think of all the benefits from that. You're not only helping an organization, but you're getting your organization's name out there to say, look, we've got people that are really good and that are willing to help. And then that's going to get other people to be like, oh, hey, we really like this organization. They're phenomenal at helping. So let's investigate them more. So it comes back to networking, it's those connections. And I think that a lot of leadership and organizations see the benefit of volunteering for their employees.
And I think, is that what keeps you coming back to being a volunteer?
To be honest with you, what keeps me coming back is moving forward. I so much, just like anybody else, again, enjoys seeing that thing get crossed off.
Yeah.
You've accomplished something, you see it grow. I've been so impressed because I've just been on the peripheral per se, but to watch our numbers at OHIMA every year grow with the people that are coming. I can remember a couple of years ago telling Lauren, I said, oh, I can't wait till we get to 1,000, And it's just an amazing feeling when you're part of something that gets either finished or gets pushed forward in whatever way that is. So that's what keeps making me come back is being a part of something bigger than me.
Right. And, I'm looking at some unique career highlights as you think about something bigger than you. You had an opportunity to author a chapter in an AHIMA textbook.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Oh, sure. So actually, I think I have it here.
Oh, let's see. Visual aids.
Yeah, so it's this Oaks book. I was super excited.
Cool? That is so cool.
So I was super excited. I got to do the revenue cycle management chapter. So that was really neat. That was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, maybe now. Yeah, that was very exciting that I've been able to do that. And then I've also been able to be some technical editor and technical review for a number of textbooks. So
that's awesome. And then you teach at OSU?
Yes. Yeah. I'm in I guess technically my 15th year of teaching, but it's, one class or one course a semester. So I guess when you look at the total time, I've only been teaching like 3 years or something like that, but over 15 years. And I really enjoy it. I love, again, watching the students, one, where the light bulb comes on, and two, watching where they go and what they do.
Yeah. And then being able, it's like you look back and there's like, that's my baby. Look how successful they are now. Okay. And then you had another tidbit. You had an opportunity to be an expert witness in a few healthcare litigation cases.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So I will tell you all, it has been the most challenging thing I'd ever done in my entire career. Ever.
We have to hear this.
But at the same time, I learned so much about the process. I learned so much about me as, because part of it I had to write. And of course, we all write. I had to help with the chapter and stuff, but I had editors, right? So there were pieces of it that, there were times I wanted to crawl in a hole. There were times that I wanted to get in a car and just run far, far away and nobody find me ever. But at the end of the day, again, being my introverted self, being in front of an arbitrator and lawyers, and that was tough. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot, again, about the process, myself. I don't know if I'd do it again, but I have a problem saying no, so I probably would.
But wow, what an interesting story you can tell from that experience. It was. So as we close, what would your final message be? What would you tell OHIMA members about volunteering? It's a final message.
My final message would be, if you're contemplating, if you're on the fence, just do it. Just do it, because you never know who you're going to meet or where it could take you next. You're going to meet us.
If everybody watching, when you volunteer, you're going to meet us, and we're cool people, right? Well, we'll be your wingman. We'll help you.
Absolutely. And that's a good point. Again, you have support. So don't ever think you're joining something and that you're going to be alone, because you're not going to be alone. You have so many people, and you'll get to do such fun things, like go to the annual meeting. We will go, like those things will happen again, where we're out there and we get to let our hair down and have fun with those that we get to volunteer with and learn more about them on that level. And it is a personal growth experience as well as a professional growth experience.
Absolutely. Well, Lauree, it's been a pleasure, an absolute pleasure talking to you today. And I hope all of our members will enjoy our little conversation and will really think about, stretching themselves and dipping their toe in the volunteer waters and joining us at OHIMA.
Oh, yes, I hope so. And Jill, thank you so much for inviting me to talk a little bit and, getting to spend time with you. I really do appreciate it.
I loved every minute of it. All right, so let's wave goodbye to our audience. Toodaloo! Thank you, everybody.